Hello friends, and welcome to part 9 of the Dynamic Window Blueprint tutorial series. This is the big one, because in this video we're finally going to get this window to resize whenever we click and drag any of the borders. So let's get started. So make sure you're in your Dynamic Window Blueprint. And I didn't mention this in the last video, but we don't need the mouse up event. It is there as an option if you do need it, but for our purposes, we don't need to do anything when the mouse is let go of. So we're just going to delete that. And we're going to highlight all of our move code and hit C to comment it. Move window. And I'm going to zoom out and just tuck this up out of the way. Alright, this next part is going to be a little bit repetitive, but if you stick with me, we should be able to get through this pretty painlessly. We're going to grab the top left resize border and grab the mouse down, and also the mouse move. Just kind of group them together. And we're going to do the same thing for the top. Mouse down and mouse move. Group these together, and then we're going to stick these up next to the top left. So top left, top, and then we'll grab top right and put them here. Down and move. Group them together and stick them up here. And we'll do this all the way around for the entire border. So we'll do left, mouse down, left, mouse move, and we'll leave a little bit of space here so we can tell they're grouped together. We'll do the right, and we'll stick these over on the right side, then bottom left. And then bottom. And the last one will be bottom right. Alright. Next thing we can do is to click and drag to select the top three. If we hold down Shift and grab the top two from this next row, and then keep holding Shift and grab these top three from the bottom row. And we're just going to separate these out. These are our mouse down events, and these are our mouse move events. Just give it a little bit of space. And just like the mouse movement code, we don't need to do anything with the mouse up, so we're not even going to bother grabbing those events. Now, like we did with the movement code, we do want to save the mouse start position, and you're not supposed to see this yet. The mouse start position and the window start position. So we can actually come up here and grab our movement code for mouse down. So we'll copy that and give us a little more room. And we'll paste it up by the top left. And connect it up and plug up our mouse position. Now, we also need to capture the size of the window, the start size, just like we do the start position. So we can actually drag off of the canvas slot call get size. And we're going to promote that to a variable. Go ahead and hook it up. And this is the part you weren't supposed to see until now. This is window start size. Now, we don't really want to copy and paste that for each one of these and have all that code on our event graph. So we're going to highlight this, right-click any of the nodes, and collapse to function. And we'll call the function BeginResize. And if we just drag it over here and double click, there's all of our code tucked away in a corner. So now we can go back to our event graph, and we'll just copy and paste this to each node, each event. And then just take a moment to go around and hook them all up. Don't forget to hook up the mouse position. And I'm not going to really speed this part up because it's going to take you a moment as well to do this exact same thing. So instead, why don't we sing a song? I'm just kidding, I am not singing a song. Shooby-dooby-doo. Just clean them up. Keep them all grouped together. And we'll highlight everything, hit C to comment, and we'll call this BeginResize. And now we can just tuck this away next to our movement code over here. Alright. Now, we're going to want to do the same thing with our movement events, where we have a single function that each event can call just to keep the event graph clean. So let's scoot these over here to the side. And I'm going to create a new function called DoResize. And it's going to need a input parameter, vector2d, which is our mouse position. Now, we're also going to want 4 Boolean values, one for each edge of our window, top, left, right, and bottom. So let's go ahead and add those next. Make it a Boolean. Call this one top. And actually it's fighting me because I already named it top once and then undid it. So I'm just going to call it top edge. It doesn't really matter. We'll do another one. Left edge. It's also a Boolean. Right edge. And bottom edge. And whichever ones are true tells us which ones we want to adjust. So if we grab the top left corner and start to drag, the top edge and the left edge are both going to be changed. Let's go ahead and compile and save and go back to our event graph. And I'm going to drag the DoResize onto our event graph. And go ahead and hook up the first one. to top left. And since it is the top left, we'll do top edge and left edge. And then copy and paste. Basically go around and do the same thing for each edge. This one will only be the left, so it's the left edge. This one's the bottom left, so we'll just do bottom edge and left edge. Come up here to the top. Don't forget to plug in your mouse position. And top border will be the top edge. Top right will be the top right edge, or edges. This one will be the left, only the left. And this one will be the bottom left. And of course I don't know my left from my right, so this is actually bottom right edge. This one is the right border, so it's the right edge. And this one is top right and top right. So it definitely would be a good idea to double check these, because being a little repetitious, it can cause you to make mistakes. So this is the bottom. We'll do the bottom edge. And then we can just kind of clean them up a little bit. And again, we'll double check. Top left, 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 bottom left, bottom left, bottom bottom, bottom right, bottom right, 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 top right, and top. All right, so let's go ahead and select all these, we'll comment them and call it DoResize. And that will handle all of our MouseMove functionality for resizing the window. All right, so now that we have our DoResize function set up and connected everywhere, let's go ahead and go into it. Let's compile and save too, just so we don't lose anything we've done. Now, like we did before, we need to subtract our mouse starting position and our mouse current position. And the start position will be subtracted from the current position. And this gives us our offset. So when we click and we start to drag, that little bit that we dragged is our offset. And we're going to use this offset multiple times, one for each edge that we adjust. So we're going to go ahead and promote this to a variable. And we'll call it MouseOffset. And just make sure it's a vector 2D. And we'll go ahead and hook it up here to set it. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to take our window start position and our start size, and every time this function is called, we are going to make adjustments to the starting position and the starting size based on which edge is selected, or which edges are selected. So we need to store these two values before we make changes, because we don't want to lose the originals. And we've actually got quite a bit of variables piling up over here, so I'm going to go down to local variables, because these will only be used inside this function. And we'll make it a vector 2D. We're going to call this new size. And we'll make one more called new position, which is also a vector 2D. And since we're going to set these to be equal to whatever these are at the beginning of this function call. So let's hold down Alt, drag our size on here, drag our position on here. And these are going to get fed in. So whatever the start position was goes to new position. And whatever the start size was goes into new size. And then we will adjust new position and new size. And then whatever those end up being, we will call set position and set size to move the window to that location and size. Alright, so let's, before we get too far away here, let's go ahead and add a branch for each of these. I'm just going to copy, paste, paste, paste. And we don't want to lose track of which is which. So I'm going to comment this one, call it top, and just kind of drag it up over here. And this next one is left. Drag it over here. We got right. And this one will be the bottom. And then at the end of our execution chain here, we're going to add a sequence. And we actually want 5 execution pins, so it'll be 0 through 4. The first 4, we'll go ahead and connect them up, is our top branch, our left branch, our right branch, and our bottom branch. And this basically just means that we're gonna, if the top is true, we'll execute our calculations on the top branch, then move on to the next one, then move on to the next one right down the line. And then once we've made all our calculations, we will use our new size and our new position. We'll grab our dynamic window, grab our slot as canvas slot, we'll do set size equal to our new size, and drag off the canvas slot, set position equal to our new position. And since we're doing it this way, we don't actually change our original variables, which is good. And then we'll connect the 4th pin, or the last pin, pin 4, down to set size. And we could just tuck that out of the way for now. Alright. Let's start on the bottom branch first. Because when you resize a window from the bottom edge, what are we doing? We're changing the size, the Y value. So if we grab our new size variable, we won't need position because we're not changing the position, only the size. We're going to go ahead and split the struct pin, and we also need our mouse offset. And we'll split that pin as well. And then whatever changes we make are going to get stored back in to the new size. So let's hold Alt and drag that onto the board, and we'll hook that up. And let's go ahead and split the pins. And since we're only changing the Y value, we do not change the X at all for the size. Now we don't want X to be 0, so we're actually going to pass in the original size. And the Y value is going to be whatever the Y value was in the beginning, plus whatever our Y offset is. So we can just add these two together. And then just connect it to our Y value. And if we compile and save and press play, we can now resize from the bottom edge of the window. And actually, we can even grab the bottom right, and it's doing the bottom edge for us. Once we get the right calculation added in, it'll actually do an actual resize. So why don't we do that next? Let's move these up out of the way. Make this bigger. And this is going to work pretty much the same way. So I am going to copy all of this, paste it up here. I'm going to hold down Alt and just break all the noodles. And think this through. We're adjusting the right-hand side. So we're not changing the Y value at all. So the size Y, we'll just pass that through. We are increasing or decreasing the X size depending on how far we move or offset the mouse. So we're going to add the X value of the size to the X value of our offset. Plug that up. And if we compile and save and press play, now we can grab the bottom left corner and it resizes fine. Top right corner. We don't have our top edge built in yet, so that's only going to work part way, but the right side works and the bottom works. So let's escape out. And alright, I think it's time to do the left side. Just make a little room here. And let's think this through. If we adjust the left, it's moving the origin in the upper left corner, so it's changing the position of the window. But it's also changing the size of the window because the right border isn't moving and the window is obviously growing. So we're going to actually need the size, the new position, and the mouse offset. And we will split the pins on each. And obviously we are going to be setting the position. So hold Alt down and grab the new size. Hold Alt down and grab the new position. And we'll be doing these one after the other. We'll go ahead and split the pins. Now, when we adjust the position by dragging left and right, it works just like it does normally, where we're just changing the X value based on the mouse offset. So we're not changing the Y position at all. So we're going to pass the Y position through. And the same thing when we resize the window by dragging left and right, we're not changing the Y value of the size either. So we'll pass that through. And for the position, we're offsetting by the amount of the mouse offset. So we'll just add those together. Sorry, position plus mouse offset, and make sure that's the X variable. And we'll feed that into our new position. Now the size is backwards because when we move the mouse left, we don't want the size to shrink. We actually want it to grow. So we're going to subtract whatever our X size currently is. We're going to take that value minus the mouse offset. So if it goes left, which is negative, it'll invert that and add it to make the window grow. So the original size minus the mouse X position, or I should say the mouse X offset, and then feed that in for our X coordinate. We compile and save and press play. If we grab the left border, it now stretches the left border and the right hand side stays in place. Move the window. Great, so now we just need to get the top working because that's the only one left. Escape out. And again, we're going to copy all of this, save ourselves some headaches. Paste it right in here, connect it up, and hold down Alt and break all of the noodles. And same as before, so if we grab the top, we're moving the top left corner, which is the position, the Y value of the position, but we're not changing the X position at all. So we'll pass the X position through. And since we are doing the mouse offset, the mouse and the window move together, we're just going to add the offset to the size. So I should say the Y value of the size plus the Y value of the mouse offset. And feed that into our position. And same as before, if we move up, we want to subtract that offset from the Y value of the size. So the Y value of the size minus the Y offset. And since we are not changing the X, we'll just pass the X through. And I've got these backwards. So the new size X stays the same. And it's the Y value that's changing here. So we'll change that there. And if we compile, save, and press play, we mess something up. Okay, I messed something up. Oh, okay. I did not connect the right nodes here. So the position Y plus the mouse offset. So they go together. Gives us our new position. And then the size Y minus the Y offset, the mouse offset, gives us our Y size. So if we try it again, now it works. Should be able to grab top left corner, top right corner, bottom left, and bottom right. Awesome. All right. Now, before you run off, there's one more piece of functionality that your window is going to need if you want it to be able to overlap with other windows. And that is the ability to change its Z order at runtime. Without this, your windows will always be stacked on top of each other in the same order that they were created. And there's currently no function built into Unreal for us to do this. So in part 10, we're going to implement that ourselves, but it's actually pretty simple to do. So I will see you then.